Hi, and welcome back to another episode of the Blue Honor Vlog. I'm author Kay Williams, author of op-dec Operation Deceit, a film noir-inspired spy thriller, Blue Honor, the Civil War drama, and the Trilkia trilogy, a series of dark fantasy paranormal stories. All right, let's get into it. Today, we're looking back at Open Book Blog Hop number 89, Forever Learning Things. And this is a what would you love to learn how to do question. At the time, and I guess a little bit now, I haven't been doing my lessons in quite some time because I've been focused on raising my daughter and working on other things, is my German lessons. It was an immense help while writing op-dec. I don't know how accurate my German is. I did try. I did my best. I leaned into PhD students in German programs and got feedback from them. So I felt relatively comfortable with what I had done. But that made me really want to pick up learning it and take that to the next level. I had been inspired by the Nina song, 99 Balloons, as you know, Luftballons. Back in the 80s, I loved that. Couldn't understand a lick of it. It was in German. It sounded beautiful and amazing, and I loved it. And unfortunately, most of my experience with the German language was in films dealing with Nazis. And I said, there's got to be more than that. They have a whole big history. They've been in Europe just as long as everybody else, but we just slap them around with, rightfully so, rightfully so, with their fascists that got way out of pocket, right? And keep them in line. German-inspired Yiddish and German Dutch and German Belgian and all that stuff, and how much it's in English, and that link, it fascinates me. As you know, right up there is Mr. Tolkien, who was a linguist, and he is a huge inspiration to me in my writing and film. Now that they've done The Lord of the Rings, I grew up with the Rankin Bass animations for The Hobbit. Of course, they had Lord of the Rings. There was a very weird Return of the King movie, which I believe it's called rotoscoped some of the orcs and stuff, which was just bizarre. Interesting, but bizarre. It was something that they did a lot in that time. Things have changed immensely since. But one of the things that I talk about wanting to learn outside of the languages, because I do like languages, and I've stuck my big toe into Mandarin recently. God help me. That's going to be a lift. I actually found German to be relatively easy because of my understanding English is a Germanic language, and, you know, it is what it is. Ancestry helps, I guess. I don't know. But Mandarin is different from what I'm used to. And you have to learn the characters and stuff, and it's just a higher reach. So it will quite test my abilities to be able to learn languages. And I used to think French was difficult. So at this point, I've dabbled in Pinyin and learning pronunciations and stuff of different things. It's going very slow, as I do. I have a lot on my plate. So, you know, I once had somebody ask me, you've been learning German for 6 years. Why aren't you fluent? Because I live in New York and don't speak it on a daily basis with anyone. My hyper focus doesn't go to that. Like, I get very anxious if the things that I must have done are not done. And I will be a bear to deal with. Like, my attitude gets really nasty because I know, and I get very stressed because I know bad things can go down for me if I don't make sure that I have all of my ducks in a row for work, for the kid, for all of that stuff. that other people are dependent upon me, and I get very stressed and crazy. Mandarin is not something I'm being made to look into, nor is the German. I can't hyper focus on it. I can only give it my attention when I have free time. What is free time? As a parent, as a single parent, as a full-time worker, as an author, as an artist, with all this other stuff going on. If you can do it, God bless you. If you can do it. Anyway, I had to cut out the rant that was in there because that upset me a little bit, that somebody thinks that I can just spend that time. So I imagine it was probably a young person who has school and fuck all to do. So I remember being very busy in school and having a lot of homework to do. So I don't know. And maybe they're just a native speaker of German and they were being a bitch to me. I don't know. Because that can happen too. You know, they get annoyed. They're like, look at this American. And it's like, I don't have to do this because it has no basis over here where I am. French, Spanish, and English is spoken the majority of the time in New York. I'm in middle of the state, you know, on the east side. More French Canadian come down to visit us than anything, and in recent times they are avoiding us like the plague. So there's not a lot of German going around here, you know, mostly just English speaking, and that's it. You know, once in a while I will find Spanish speakers and we get along. We get along using sign language and whatnot. It is so rare, unless I'm in retail, that I don't come across it. But I would do my best and be respectful as far as that is concerned. I had taken Spanish in 7th grade, and God help me, I don't remember much of it. But sometimes when people speak, things come back a little bit for me. But I have other things to do, and English is mainly what we use in the day-to-day, both in my career, in my writing, and just daily communication. So German is on top of that with no one. I could speak to a wall. That's not going to help me learn. So it is an uphill battle. Immersion, I will say, is the best thing that you can do. Just immerse yourself. Anyway, moving on from languages, the other thing that I had listed was fixing math, in learning a little bit more about physics, the various theories and stuff. I mean, I understand the basics, right, of object in motion stays in motion until acted upon by an equal or stronger force, right? Whatever. I'm thinking stuff more like NASA deals with and stuff. All those cool formulas that you see physicists working on. Things like that. And just kind of understanding more deeply what they're talking about. Beyond our atmosphere and space and all of that. Physicist, right? Astrophysics. Things like that. Theoretical physics would be interesting, but I would need to fix my understanding of calculus, which that was tough. That was really tough. I was supposed to take that for my bio degree, and it was like a brick wall because they just tripped you up with that calculator, and all of the math prep up into that had nothing to do with what we were doing. And I'm like, this is bullshit. Because the basis that I was given doesn't feed in to calculus. Like the pre-calc I was taking was more like trig, and this is not, you know, it was just weird. It didn't connect for me at all, and the teacher didn't help to make the connection. He did not like us there. And by us, I mean the women who came over from the bio program or any bio student, but especially women, and he made a point of saying it straight out. So if you're like, oh, you don't imagine anything, you're just going to learn, blah, blah. No, he said it straight out. These women from the bio program over here, and made faces. So I tried to report that to the School of Sciences at Morrisville, SUNY Morrisville, and they just kind of blew me off. Oh yeah, he's like that. That was acceptable in 1994. It was acceptable to them that a student would flunk out, fail the program, because they had a sexist professor on deck. I guess they needed him that badly. And he looked like bad breath walking. So he was immensely important, I guess. You know, scrawny little dickweed of a professor. And miserable incel. That's what he was. And he had his gaggle of incels. But I did notice that when he said that, a few of the guys laughed, and some of them were made very uncomfortable. None of them spoke up. So I would like to highlight that for the not all men crowd. Did you speak up? No. Should have said, well, it's part of their program, so they need to be here just as much as us. Is there a problem with that? Maybe you should create a different course for them. If you don't want them in your class, maybe you should give them to a different professor. Right? Yeah. Maybe he should get a different job if he doesn't like working with half the population. That's a thought too. So that's why, consistently there has been problems with women in STEM. This is what we face very early on in our careers. We haven't even gotten our degrees yet. I even went to him to ask for help, and the tutor that was standing next to him, the student that was standing with him, was shocked. He didn't say anything, but I could see it on his face that he was like, oh my God, was it? Yeah. So the professor just looked at me and said, if you don't understand it, I can't help you. And I was just like, okay. There's no tutors or anything? No. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. So I changed majors because of that man. I had to. And transferred to a different school. That was the result of that. But don't get upset. I love history and I love writing. And that's probably the program I should have been in anyway. I do think, as my niece has graduated and she is embarking on her veterinary career, what could have been. It does make me a little sad. But choices were made. And I'll never understand why a bio student who just wants to become a veterinarian needed fucking physics calculus. Or why they put that on there. And it was just to basically weed us the fuck out, I guess. And it wasn't that important for them to have women in the sciences, even though a lot of my teachers were women. Somehow they managed to make it through. But they couldn't supply me with any help to just get me through this one course that I had to take according to your curriculum. And sorry, I don't mean to get upset, but it's like I'm just thinking about all the women and girls out there who have seen that, and Black women and Black men and Indigenous people and brown people and stuff who have faced all the same things because of the color of their skin or their gender, and how they're always cut out and they can't learn because they won't let them in the door. They don't want them there. Not that that was the first time that I was made to feel unwanted and separated. It was a bar that stopped me from pursuing my dreams. And no man spoke up either time to challenge that. It was okay for them, because and that's really where the country wants to roll back to, is we're not in the room and we don't get to do those things. We have to make other decisions for our future. I don't want to see my daughter go through that, and I'm glad that my niece didn't have to, that she went to better schools that offered better professors who actually knew what they were doing and could teach it. I think too often people who can't manage end up teaching, and they get jobs at these 2-year schools like Morrisville, and they're miserable fuckers, and they just screw everybody up because they're screwed up. I don't know why he hated women. Couldn't tell you. It doesn't matter. He shouldn't have had his job. I should have probably pushed a little bit harder, and I didn't. Should have told my mom, and I should have had my dad do something, because he worked for SUNY at the time, to talk to the chancellor, to talk about that to somebody. But all I did was call her and say, I have to change my major or I'm not graduating. I can't get through the course. And instead of getting guilted like I was told that I wouldn't be able to do anything with an English degree, and I was setting myself up for failing and having a much harder time of it, and maybe so, but I still got a degree, and that meant that I would still be able to achieve better than just having a high school degree and not going any further. And it wasn't that I wasn't capable, it was that I didn't have the appropriate starting point. I didn't have the stuff that I needed to begin with to be there. And there was no one to help fix that or show me how to fix that or get me up to speed. And I don't think it would have taken that long, because when I was when I started working with the state back in the day, we have to take exams, and it's English and math. Basically, it's like a aptitude test. And I would be fine on the grammar and English portion, the writing and English proficiency and all of that. And the math stuff, I kept screwing it up. And so I got a study guide and I fixed that, and I kept acing the math. And then I had a problem in the English, which made no sense. And I kind of challenged that to the universe. I'm like, how does someone with an English degree now have problems reading and understanding paragraphs when they were acing that before and fix the math, and now this doesn't work? I'm like, we can't do that. No. And then all of a sudden it stopped doing that, and then I was doing great on both. I still do get tripped up with the organize this paragraph or state this sentence in a better way that's clear, and it's just like business writing. It often isn't more clear the way that they want you to write it, and this is a problem. I'm like, I have a degree, and I'm like, no, this doesn't work. And I also can't think in that vein. It's a very different way of thinking, if you know what I mean. Nobody does this outside of these halls, so to speak. But anyway, if I could, I would fix my ability to do math up through calculus and get a better grip on that. I don't know that I could at this point. It's just, it's another language, basically, so to speak. And I don't know that I have the time or energy to focus on all of that. that said, as I'm walking my daughter through school, she'll be going into the 4th grade. She's getting a far better basis for her math skills than my generation did. And she is doing phenomenally well in math. So in a way, I'm fixing my math issues, and it's because of her and her learning. She's fixing the math issues in the family. So she's brilliant. She struggles, however, with the writing. She does like art, but writing she sees as very difficult. But, we're working on that and coming up with ways to hopefully fix that for her so that she's good on all fronts. She'll be a triple threat, so to speak. So that'll be great. So looks like I am still working on those things. I think I'm more focused on language learning than I would be on math and physics. It's interesting to me, but I don't feel so drawn to it as I used to be. Sometimes I think it would be more interesting to learn how to program and stuff like that. Run a computer, run programs, build programs, design things in the virtual digital space. That's more interesting to me. But again, I like languages and being able to communicate with people. I like art and culture. So I think essentially, even though I am sad about not being able to work with animals and either be a vet or researcher or work in a zoo directly with animals, I think I found the space where I am actually supposed to be, as much as that may have hurt at the time, and thinking back on it still kind of hurts because I do love animals and I love spending that time with them, and I'm limited because I didn't follow that trajectory. So I tell my daughter all the time, who also wants to be a vet like her cousin, if you go work for a zoo, mommy wants to be a zoo mom. So I will take your babies and watch them overnight for you. We come from a long line of dog people who have bred and raised dogs and rescued animals and done a lot of that work. And I do still have my biology background, so all of that is still there. But yeah, I don't lean on that needing to get my math skills up or learning physics. No. Even though he threw that blockade and he was cruel, unnecessarily cruel and inappropriate, my only takeaway from that is that I would like to see that never happen to a person of color or a woman ever again, which I think is important, especially as a writer, because I can highlight that hate and bigotry, because I've experienced it in those ways and can relate therefore to those stories more closely than somebody who is just kind of tripped through the world having everything passed to them because they fit the bill. So I have a better ground to stand on of understanding others who struggle with being denied their basic humanity and equity within education, the workforce, politics, etc. So when people talk, I hear them, I understand, and I believe them. And I know we can do better. So while I may cry thinking about that sometimes, I am also grateful for the perspective it has given me. And I think it's a better ground to stand in, to understand friends and family, and anyone in general who is struggling with being beaten back because of where they come from, what they look like, in those lines. So make sure you come back. Next month will be September, and I think I'm going to talk about my top 5 distractions. I'm getting very tired. As I do when I get upset. That's my trauma response there. Time to take a nap and avoid it. Anyway, thank you. Come back and we'll talk about distractions next time. See you. Thank you for coming.